or Tom?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the bonding. So, yeah. I was thinking that NetZipper will be here, so. I don't have anything ready, so.
I'm going to ping him, but you can get started with anything you have, either one of you.
Yeah, I don't have anything ready.
So I've been playing a little bit with the your RNode client JS.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I seen your pull request.
That's while we're waiting here, I can answer your question. Let's see, we have, oops. Okay, this is the client. This is, let's go back to the instructions.
It has all the dependencies, so you only have to run npm install. Did you make it work?
Yes, I did.
Cool.
Okay. The one of the things is that I need to get the version that has the sandbox in here. I see this.
Yeah, I removed sandbox and DevNet. I was talking to NetZipper, and he made a point that you know, these networks are like for Archean developers, so it's better not to, you know, put it in the same way as testnet, you know, just to confuse confusing. So
the other thing here, okay, this is assuming a proxy running on localhost.
yeah, yeah.
And these each have their own proxy.
Yeah.
You're running a proxy for every host? For
every host, yeah. And also for DevNet and SandboxNet, if you need these networks.
Right. So if I want to run, a proxy, so if I want to run a local host, I have to run a proxy.
Yeah, if you want to work from the browser. Yeah. And this is a standard Envoy proxy.
Standard what?
Standard Envoy proxy. I posted the link in Discord on the Archean Discord. Devon asked for the exact question.
Okay, the instructions are not here.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I should definitely add instructions how to run your own proxy. Yeah.
Hey. Welcome. Hey, NetZipper.
Oh, hi.
Thank you.
No problem.
So on that question, I have Tom Slough with the editors you have for Roland. Do they do any? I'm assuming there's no debugging support right now, right? Just there is support for picking the structures correctly, but not necessarily any debugging support.
Yeah, exactly. For debugging, debugging needs some information from the compiler, and different plugins are in different level of capabilities with different capabilities. The most capable currently is Visual Studio Code plugin.
Okay.
Because in this plugin, I parse all the output from the node,
Mm-hmm.
and I can show you where the error is exactly from the error message. I'm parsing the numbers of the line and the position in the line, and I interpret this number as for the purpose of positioning the error message.
Okay.
So this is not really the API from the node. I'm just interpreting the log message.
Okay. And do any of the breakpoints that would normally be available, would they be available, or is it too complicated to put breakpoints and things like that to kind of step through the code or figure out what's going on?
Yeah, this is like a big step.
Okay.
Yeah, because
it's not easy to just mimic whatever the Visual Studio infrastructure is to say, okay, this is what it is for this language.
Well, when you say Visual Studio mimic, you have all the API from the Visual Studio.
Right.
You have all of this support is already like this diagnostics. They call this diagnostics.
Yeah.
It's already implemented. So you just need to provide this information. But you need to provide information, for example, when your code is stopped on some point, you need to provide information of the local variables or the global variables, variables in the scope. And who will give you this information? This information is only available inside the compiler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that with rolling, this should be, I think, easier than its other languages because you don't have this hidden information. So yeah, but we definitely need support from the compiler.
Okay. Yeah. So that was the question I have. Now, Zipper, you want to speak to what's being found out? I mean, are we able to run anything on the sandbox? I know yesterday Sebastian was using it or was hoping to use it. What's the situation?
As far as I know, Dom is trying to figure out what's happening on the sandbox, and he's trying to copy the node to his workstation. Maybe he has some toolings there. So actually, I think that yet it is occupied by Dom. He didn't release it yet.
Okay. On the tests we ran last time, where we had 300 or 400 passed, but the others did not.
Yeah.
Is there any easy way to find out, either from the dates or some other stuff, that this rest of the stuff makes sense and this does not, to pursue?
I'm not sure about the date because we cannot set some kind of a threshold, and we can try, but I don't think that it depends on the date of the last commit. We can try, but I don't know. Helps. The most maybe the most easy way is to look through the error messages of these deploys. So maybe we can just separate some kind of issues where there is no such thing. For example, when a system variable has been changed. So we can look through the error messages and try to figure out if it is if this can be easily fixed or not. Maybe this is one source of information about the deploy.
Is that even going to be productive? Is that going to help us in some way? That I guess it may expand the test suite of contracts, right?
This can be productive in a sense that we can have a working, more working piece of raw-line code if we can fix this code by just updating it to the new versions of system names. Or
so can we automate, or just is it a matter of using grep or something to be able to say out of these error messages we got to identify which ones are likely not syntax or other things, system variable type of stuff?
Yeah, let me try. A minute, please. I will start sharing my screen and we can go through this stuff together. Okay. Just. So this is kind of messages that we can have here. So maybe these are some parts of old rolling API linked list, IRA API. What's this? I don't know what's that. We have just a syntax error messages that we can grep. Here it seems like just a bracket is missing, or balance map, make mint. We don't have this in the scope. Oh no, this is not. We just have some kind of syntax error. Yeah, no, I'm wrong. It doesn't mean anything. It just showed that there is some kind of error there. And as we can see, most of these errors are just saying that there are syntax errors at one of the lines. Yes, most of them are just syntax errors that we should look through manually. But also we have some thing that give us a bit more legal check. So yeah, most of them are syntax errors. We can put stuff with just syntax errors and should go through this manually and then get all other stuff that are not proposable, that are not deployable, but give us some extra information. But I guess most of this is just things that we get through manually.
And it maybe some of these things are just repeating, because I see these examples from old version, which is also available on Archean repository. So
yes, could be there are duplicates in this list.
Yeah, this linking.
Well, at least we can shrink these sets, seeking for duplicates of this error message.
Yeah.
It's okay, I will do that. Let's try this.
Or maybe you can skip, skip the folder if if you know it's the fork of Archean repository.
Sorry, a minute. Do we have anything else, or if not, I can just show you, try to show you how many of them, how many of errors are just syntax errors. If we have anything else, just stop me. Okay, we have 106 errors.
Yeah, and the folder is examples linking version 0.1. Somewhere is 0.2. Yeah. This is also looks like a fork of
Yes,
Archean.
maybe 35. If that's it.
Maybe if this doesn't have any purpose in the repository, maybe it's good to delete it.
Yeah, so basically you have to go all through this stuff and semi-manually check what's good, what's not good, what can be fixed.
Does anybody have any idea or any ideas on how that may be automated?
Maybe we can filter the URLs, or if they're in this pattern. You know, if you have examples folder and it's inside is linking and some kind of version 0.1 or 2, you know, this is the same thing.
Yeah, but we can do this, check these duplicates with the error message. So there should be the same line or same object. So this gives us.
Oh yeah.
So this stuff should be the same.
Yeah.
And lines. For example, if we check this, there are 3. So linked list API, linked list API, linked list API, linked list API. So yeah, these are basically just copies of the same contract.
Yeah. Does it make sense to check the forks at all? I mean, what is the purpose? We know what is the fork.
Yeah, so basically you're saying deprecate the forks so we're not going, I mean, the older versions, so we don't go there. Is that what you're saying, Tom?
I mean, lots of people can have different versions of Archean repository. You know, they fork the repository in different times. You know, so we are just finding different versions of the same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah. So, but not on the repository of Archean. It's on of different people. So I'm just saying that maybe we can identify it and just you know, skip all of the checking. Because
I think that I just can't do this semi-manually. It's just 1,000 lines and about 400 contracts. So I will clean all these duplicates. It will shrink out to maybe 100 or 50. It's like an hour of work. Not worth thinking too much about this.
No, this is the this is the you're talking about the errors from the which 400 are you talking about? Let me understand, because I thought you said there were 300 or 400 that actually deployed.
Yes, and there are duplicates. So I can remove duplicates in these 400 and shrink them maybe to 100 or even a 50.
Okay, but how about the ones that did not deploy, that we're trying to understand? And I think that's where what Tomislav is saying is that if we actually eliminate forks, we start with a smaller set.
No, these are one that are not deployable.
Oh,
So,
these are not deploying.
yeah,
Okay,
I will shrunk them by checking the error message.
Okay.
And this is exactly from Archean repository.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Then we can do this with the proposable chunks of code. Just to make sure that there are no duplicates.
Yeah, I mean, but I think in general, as a principle, it seems right that if we know that there are forks and if it's easy to identify the forks by eliminating them, we save ourselves a lot of work, right? I mean, not in this round, do whatever makes sense, but I'm saying in future, if we can identify to say, okay, here are the non-forked stuff that we need to worry about. Is that what you're saying, Tomislav?
Yeah, but from these messages, it's not super easy to identify forks. So
yeah, and maybe fork can contain some new files. So even if it's fork, you should check if this file is in the original repo. Maybe it's changed, maybe it's not changed.
Maybe this is too much.
Yeah, it's more a long way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we don't need this kind of work. I mean, this is like super detailed.
Okay, I guess I will do this stuff today. Try to figure out what are actually original undeployable contracts, and try to figure out how many are of them.
Thank you, Jipper. I think that that'll help us. And basically, what I'm curious about is if we can expand that list from the 300, 400 we have, so that we have more variety of contracts and more of a likelihood of catching bugs. So,
okay. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Maybe it would be useful to have some kind of starting repository that you can clone and playing with some contracts.
So to put all these contracts into one repo.
Yeah, I mean, when you want to play with rolling, you want to start from somewhere. So now, if you clone the repository, you really create some invalid rolling on your repository, because now in the Archean repository you already have some invalid code. So I'm just thinking how to minimize a future code that is not working. So.
Okay, so maybe this thing can be saved for running in the future, to grab all this stuff written in Rolang and check what's working, what's not, and to put them all into one, like a awesome Rolang repo.
Yeah, and then maybe we can make something that you can search and find something similar. If you want to write some kind of contract, and you can maybe search for an example from this list. Yeah, and yeah, and 1.1 release will be for rolling. Maybe we can do this all these things and check.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like a regression test repo or something.
Yeah.
I also we had been going back and forth on this random generation or generative tests for Rolang. I just wanted to inform you guys that actually the devs were trying that to do some degree of generative tests. And they also need them for cost accounting to say, you know, if you are doing different things, are the costs coming out reasonable in those various scenarios? But I think the actual generative tests for testing the compiler, they worked on for a while, and I think it was put on back burner because of, apparently Tim was working on it, and it was put on back burner because of the feature delivery requirements. So I just want to let you know that it was kind of on people's mind. So if there is a way for the community to pick that up, whatever was done, and then complete that or expand that, I think it would still be a valuable exercise.
Yeah.
Any comments or thoughts on that? Or
do you know how they testing this with the white block libraries and tools, or?
There was some testing done on white block, but I'm not sure that it has been extensive, because there were complaints about the difficulty in terms of just getting stuff to work with white block was taking quite a bit of time, because white block themselves were in their development cycle. So apparently what was happening was that whenever we tried to do something, it was getting, the white block development cycle was getting in the way. And that's kind of how I understood from Adam that was working with white block fairly extensively and exclusively. I guess he was almost dedicated to work with the white block infrastructure. But does anybody have any ideas on, I mean, maybe white block is more stable now or more usable now. Does anybody have any ideas on that? Like, did anybody play with white block or?
No.
Okay, so this was more because white block is there, is it doing this? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, can we expect that we will be able to do with these white block tools to test something? This is what I was thinking.
Well, see, the thing, the way I understand white block's role is that pretty much what they're going to test is just at the level of network behavior under, or node behavior under different network failures. So it's like you have whatever 20 nodes you're running, and how is your data being saved or not? What is the state of the blockchain? When 5 nodes go down, 3 nodes go down, 10 nodes go down, whatever. That sort of a thing. That seems to be the only thing, at least, that I was able to find. And I have not extensively looked at their abilities. And just to do that, Adam was saying that was very hard to, or was taking a lot of effort, I should say, to get through that process.
So you're saying white block tools are not managing execution of our nodes. It's just the networking part or connectivity part.
Right, connectivity, and then saying what happens with the data and loss of data. Like, what is the degree of consistency and saving of the state of the blockchain when events happen on the network? Now, I think you may be asking a different question, and I don't know the answer to that. You may be asking, well, can they assure that we get a reasonable consistency even in case of network failure? Is that what you're asking, or? I mean, do they have facility to do that? Is that what you're asking?
I made the impression that they have like a complete testing suite that you just, you know, say I have this executable and they run it on their, like, they manage the execution, you know, in the environment, right? But you're saying that they're only managing networking, not the environment. Archean is providing the nodes, the running nodes, or right?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
And I don't know if my understanding of wide log capability is complete or correct. But yeah, otherwise they could be, if they are able to manage and assure beyond just saying how much of a problem you have, then they could become an operational environment for us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably deploy on them and say it should be better than deploying on a Google Cloud or something.
Yeah, yeah, or maybe they have some kind of nice tools to manage all these things.
Yeah, so I don't know if that part of the capability is there.
But yeah, what you are saying is making sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I just.
So given that, given what I just said about them white block only testing the behavior under network interruptions, then this whole functionality and the reliability of the node itself becomes our thing to run tests against, especially the Roland behavior under different kinds of either errors or different kinds of contracts or bad code. I mean, maybe a valid but bad, badly written code. And we want to make sure that that doesn't slow everybody down. So.
And maybe we could test some operations that we know we will use in the beginning, right?
Yeah, look, for example, one thing Mike Stay was talking about was like the good way to write a recursion and a bad way to write a recursion. He was referring to that, and that could happen either in user contracts or system contracts. So those kinds of things. This is where I was hoping your tool, your development environment, could restrict or warn about some of those bad coding behaviors for Roland. You know, if somebody's doing a recursion, maybe advise them that this is how you do the recursion, not the other way.
Yeah, Greg was talking about refactoring, and yeah, I'm not sure. This will be provided probably from the compiler, because
well, they are working on it to, well, I don't know, a compiler in terms of actually, I guess, communicating back or yeah, something like that is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But what Arthur is hoping is that he's trying to benchmark the behavior under different either one of those scenarios and see, first of all, if there's a huge difference, and secondly, to see if the implementation can be improved to allow either behavior to get decent results. But that's of course significant development activity. If there's a way we can prevent things ahead of time in the interim, would be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is partially behavioral types, right?
Right.
That you're expecting here.
Yeah.
Something can be done as part of the just editor plugin, like normal code to check some kind of some kind of simple pattern that you can easily check, right?
Mm-hmm.
But very, very simple stuff, you know, because it's very difficult to make some kind of
right.
deeper meaning. But yeah, we can show patterns. We can point to help. This stuff can be done in that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at least encourage people to use, like, say, for example, if the tool has a bunch of good coding practices as examples right in the tool itself, they can just like drag and drop that stuff and say, okay, you know, I want to do something like this, and now instead of they can clone it. I mean, they can basically clone it and put their variables and names, whatever they want to do.
You have something a little better. You can define snippets, and with snippets you can define like places when you want to your tab key will like go.
Yeah.
So
no, right, exactly. Where basically all they have to, it'll take them to the point where they can put the particular variable or whatever. So how complicated is it to do that?
This is very easy, and I just wanted to say that we can maybe create some kind of discussion about these things, because you know, I don't feel that I should decide what snippets goes in or goes out, right? And also you can define your own without a plugin. This is like we can talk about this inside the plugin like a default snippets, but you can download your own snippets and just create it inside the Visual Studio Code or Atom or Sublime. So maybe we can make some instructions how to do it, and you know, make some default snippets. And this also, you know, needs some kind of thinking. You know, what should put there and how, what would be useful and what not. And for me, it's difficult to to decide and say, you know, I didn't wrote so much wrong.
Right. No, but basically we can start with basic snippets or basic patterns, and then let the community then say, okay, I need this or that or whatever, and then you can then evaluate if that's something that needs to be added more and more to the tool.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Provide a link to this page where you can submit your new snippet.
Correct. So it's almost like it has to have its own repository or something, right? And the ticketing system or GitHub ticketing.
Yeah, you can make pull requests to the plugin directly, or you can, you know, have some another repository with just this stuff. And
yeah. Well, I'm not sure what you meant by that last statement. I thought this IDE would be like a separate repository. I mean, you already have a repository of your IDE, right?
Yeah, for plugin. Yeah, but
right.
You know, this is like a default, and I was thinking that you are saying that that we can have another repository just for the snippets or something.
I don't know. Should we? I was not necessarily thinking that. Maybe we should, but.
Well, let me ask this question. So, if we were to create a repository for the IDE, where do we think that repository should be? So, options are, you know, there's the Archean community repository, so it could be there. Or if we want to, do we want to make it more official and make it on the within the Archean repository with the Archean GitHub? Jim, do you have any thoughts on where would be an appropriate place?
Inside Archean repository is definitely not the place.
It's not the place?
No.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about having it as in the Archean community? GitHub?
Well, we have someone has already created some repository related to editors, but it's a little complicated than that. So the main source of roll and highlighting is in the Sublime plugin repository. So I started from there because all of these other highlighters uses the same source, but you can just you know, transform it into other syntax. So this is the source, and this is also the source from for GitHub highlighting when you know it start working. So Visual Studio Code uses the same thing but in JSON format. So we need some kind of strategy to put all of this in the Archean community, right? And then this is my plan, right? But you know, all of these editors have different plugins and different repositories, and some of them share the same source from the grammar file. So,
would a possible solution to create a whole new GitHub account specifically for all of these, or was that doing more than what's necessary?
I don't think this is necessary. I just think that maybe, well, we should definitely, you know, think about how we want to, you
know, right, how to organize and manage it. So
yeah.
I'm getting a sense of, you know, all the different pieces that are out there, and how they're interrelated. And but you know, for a developer, we want to make this you know, an easy experience, you know, so they don't get frustrated. So so I have a better appreciation of what we're trying to do and the challenges. So but I think you bring up another good point is, okay, so we have all these nifty ideas to add features, you know, the snippets, rolling snippets here and so forth. Which one do we want to do first? And, you know, what's the example going to be? So speaking to that point, on the Archean call last Thursday, when I was busily taking notes when we were talking, when you're talking about the features for the data and the streaming and the in and the out and so forth. So I took all my documents and I put it in, you know, typed it up. And so that's there. I think that's more of a feature request for, you know, Archean itself on the protocol, which would be in the Archean improvement process, which is, you know, that won't really get activated until maybe November, end of the year, because the core team's busy. But with features like that and others that we talk about on our community call, the thought is, hey, all this needs to be recorded, written down, because they're great ideas. We don't want them to get buried in, you know, videos on YouTube or in Discord. So I'm trying to be proactive and kind of collecting these with the idea that, hey, this is going to go into this process flow, which is called the Archean improvement process. And I'm still getting my head around that. So that's for speaking to those features that we talked about last week. Now, onto the IDE and these feature requests for the snippets and so forth. So that's going to be more what we can do as a community, more quicker response. We're not dependent on the core development team for those. So we can work within our own group, setting up our own little, you know, process and procedures. So I think we're kind of starting that now with the discussions, and and I think all of these discussions and ideas can live within the DApp developer working group. So that would be a good forum for us to kind of deliberate and work through. Okay, hey, we've got these neat these tools, these IDEs for Visual Studio, and there's Sublime and so forth. You know, they're interrelated. You know, where do we want to keep them? What features do we want to add to the IDE, and what snippets and so forth. So let me. I'll go back and kind of write it down as far as how I understand it. Put together a kind of a document, and just to help kind of facilitate these discussions. So these are good ideas. We don't want to lose them. We want to take, you know, what we have and then move it forward in steps. So I think I see my role as this is kind of the note taker, facilitator, taking the ideas and putting them down. And then Tomislav, Jim, Nutzipper. So we'll all kind of deliberate the discussion. Say, okay, how do we want to manage this? What features do we want to see, and what's going to be first, and so forth. And then getting a consensus to everyone is think, okay, we think this is the idea, this is the approach, and then who has the time, who's available to work on a specific aspect. So I think when I think about making tools for DApp developers, making it easy for them, this is going to go a long way. When I saw your Visual Studio IDE, I'm like, I got to have that. I don't know enough about coding, but I got to have that because it looked like it's going to would make my life so much more easier. So so I could see a developer, seeing that and they go, wow, that's the piece that I need to help move me along. So I think that has great impact. As far as selling, hey, this is Rolang. Rolang is it's simple, but it's not easy. But we want to do what we can to make sell it so it's not so developers can get more energized about learning it and developing with it. So okay, well, good. So I'm glad we had that discussion. So I'll go back and I'll kind of put a document together. So we want to. So this would be in a broader sense, maybe developer tools. I have to kind of figure out what we want to call this effort. Certainly IDEs, but more broadly, these might be developer tools that we're creating. So we'll kind of work through the mechanics of that, of how we want to call things and so forth. But I think I got a general sense of it. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I can provide you with some information about this editor plugins, because until now I was, I was thinking just in the closed system, without too much interaction. I didn't have like a very, very, very small feedback. So, and for example, IntelliJ plugin is, now I'm trying to fix it, and I have so many problems. It's a different version of Java, and some things that doesn't exist anymore. So the tests are not working. So
well, if you'd like to do a brain dump, just take your ideas that you've had, ones that are working and others that don't, the things that you like to do but you're frustrated with. Put those together in some type of Google Doc and send me the link, and that'll help me get my head around it, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, please do just do a brain dump, put it together, and send it off to me, and that'd be great.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because now it would be nice to have some more eyes on this code.
Exactly. And, I think what I kind of bring is everyone has their own view, their own perspective, from which is, based on their experiences. So, someone like you or Jim, who's been doing this for a number of years, you can only see it through those glasses, that vision. But here I'm someone coming into it, with a fresh eyes, and something that you may take for granted that someone may know. I would say, hey, wait a minute, what about this? And and this piece, how do they go together? And you go, oh, okay, I didn't think that someone would question that. And then so it's just that someone seeing it, for the first time or from a different perspective. And that's what makes things, creates this momentum of moving forward. We're building something that's going to be hopefully widely used and have broader appeal. I think that's the key. Key is having that broad appeal to get to that broader adoption. And you have to have these different perspectives and be sensitive to people's feedback. When they raise a point, what about this? What about that? And then take that point, you kind of work through it, deliberate. As far as what's the significance of that? What does it mean? And so yes. So this is progress. This is how things move forward. So good deal.
And we don't need to make all of these things from the start, right? For example, there is a very nice Visual Studio plugin extension from IBM. It's open source, right? And it's for I think for Hyperledger. They're doing Hyperledger. So we can use some of these parts, like it's very similar, so we can learn from these projects, and we can also implement this in a similar way. So
leverage what's out there. Why reinvent the wheel when we can,
exactly.
just use the resources and tools that are out there. So I'm all with you on that point. Very good.
Naziper, did you see the error on the testnet for propose? No new deploys. I also see this on my standalone.
Sorry, could you go?
On the testnet, when I propose, I see the error no new deploys.
Yes.
But I just deployed. So how is it possible?
Right now, how you cannot call propose on the testnet nodes. The port is closed.
But sometimes I successfully propose. So this is like a strange thing.
Are you sure this is on testnet? Maybe on sandbox?
No, it's a testnet. And it is a little confusing that you're saying the propose is another port.
Yes.
But I have proxies only on one port. So how can I propose? I'm still not sure, but I can definitely propose. But I'm not sure how this is working, because I have only one port.
So you can propose with your library through the gRPC.
Yeah, and I'm using the same address and the same port as for deploy. So I'm not sure. In one moment I was just thinking, oh, I need another proxies for the propose, and then I realized, no, I don't need it. So I'm still confused. I'm not sure.
Well, well, let me check.
I was checking, without propose and to see the logs, and I was completely not sure. But yeah, definitely I can propose.
It's quite odd.
So let me see now.
So node 3 testnet Archean.
Yeah, I see the same error. No new deploys.
Okay, let me try something. Propose. So I'm trying to propose with the RNode CLI. My command hangs, so I guess it will return cannot execute command or something, which shows that RNode can't access the gRPC endpoint. Actually, this could be a bug, because if you're calling the gRPC, you're using port 40401 for your proxy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what is the port for propose?
4042, but I guess it can be that propose exposed on both ports.
Yeah, this makes sense. Well, why is that?
Maybe it's just kind of propose is filtered. I don't know. Maybe the RNode CLI just use 40402 port for gRPC calls, but on the RNode side, this propose method is exposed both on both ports. So we just 402 is filtered out with the IP tables or some kind of firewall, and you actually can call propose with the gRPC. And this is some kind of feature, a bug that team should know about. If this is real.
Yeah.
Rao, I guess this is something that we should notify the dev team. I will write a mail message.
I think it's we can just put a ticket in there, right? Or do you think it needs more than that?
Maybe it's just how it was supposed to be right now. I don't know if the firewall.
Yeah, maybe we can just ask them, this is what is happening. Is this what it's supposed to be? And if they say no, then we can do a ticket.
Yes.
Right.
Tomislav, could you check one more time if this is the case, that you can call propose on the 401?
Yeah, I will check.
Okay.
I never called propose on my local node on this port too. So yeah, okay, I will check.
Sure, thanks.
I was doing testing for server reflection, and I have it working. So
you made it?
Yeah, I just enabled on the RNode, because this is like another library that you include, and this library, this service just expose another protobuf service as a method to extract information from protofiles. Like a metadata from the protobuf. But we don't have this response type for that either. So now I'm playing with some additional type that will hold, all the responses from all the methods as another type. It's not used for anything else, just to hold the names of the methods and the response types. But it will be typed, and you can get this type with the reflection. So I will propose this. So I will create a pull request. So maybe
so do you think that moving from either to like more complex type type architecture is a kind of really difficult thing, and it cannot be done? I wonder why at the first place they choose to use this either as a return for everything.
Yeah, they wanted to have some error case when something is not working, but they should define a different type for each response, which it's stupid, but it's how protobuf is working. So I'm thinking that they probably didn't want to generate all these types and just use all one. So the whole question with protobuf is really, is it really convenient to store some other syntax in your code and just generate your own code? Maybe it's much easier to just have Scala code and just generate protobuf files.
Yeah, gRPC rocks.
Did you try bonding? I didn't have the whole thing prepared, but I was trying to make this bonding now.
Yeah, I didn't try, but I guess it's kind of easy. There's just one contract that you should to deploy and propose,
and that's it.
And that's it. So previously there was two deploys, and it was easy also, but now it's just one. So I guess if you try doing this, please take notes, and we'll publish this on the readme.io as a walkthrough.
Okay.
Just send me, and I will arrange to make them.
And I'm thinking, yeah, I'll definitely make a count, and yeah, I want to put some other information here.
Cool.
And I was thinking that maybe I can create an example directly in the browser where you can bound your own node, right? You can have everything what you need, right? You have gRPC connection to your node, and you just put the information there, and just. I'm just thinking, how much of operation you can do directly from the browser.
Yeah, but you most probably don't want it to bound from the web, because what does it give you? You just can propose with your own node, which it's not exposed in the web browser. So you bound, and then what? You propose, but why? This is not like a thing that will.
Oh, I was more thinking of like an example of how to do it.
Ah, okay.
And you really, if you have proxy on your node, you can do it. Right? You deploy on test, then you can deploy on your node.
Sure. So what you are talking about, I guess this is just more like a general sandbox where people can deploy stuff to the validators, then use another private key, try to propose, try to validate, and so on through the one interface. But they still need to run an actual RNode with the private key.
But you can say, but you can enter a DigitalOcean token, and we can directly create VPS on DigitalOcean, and we can this is hard to the machine. Do everything, so you have everything. You have everything in the browsers.
And fly to the Mars.
Yeah. But why not? It would be nice that you can just have your own page and run the whole thing.
Well, sure, it would be really nice if you have time and you know how to do this. It looks like.
I'm just looking how to have all of this stuff in gRPC that you can connect, and I found in the code that there is a eval gRPC. So I will try to just evaluate the code with gRPC. I didn't see this anywhere. So I was not sure if this.
I think that is on the web IDE for RNode. I think they are using the gRPC.
Oh.
How does it call? I never used it actually.
Yeah, in my plugins for Visual Studio plugin, I'm using direct process call. So I want to switch to gRPC because it will work much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we can definitely integrate, and this is what they are doing on IBM extension. We can integrate deploying option. You can specify the amount and everything inside the IDE.
Amount, you mean flow price?
Flow price and flow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool.
I mean, the question is if you want to do it with real private key, but yeah, for testing this.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. I wonder, did you see the question from Steve Ross-Talbot in the members channel about I started to watch the Archean members Zoom Hangout, and there were talks. Jim, you should know, talks about that Java coders are kind of have some burdens trying to write a code. So I'm wondering why is that? Because this is pretty straightforward. Java coders most probably know how to work with gRPC, because old school Java coders worked with SOAP and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they're using gRPC Java library in RNode. So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess
maybe
is it worth like writing some walkthrough on how to make an app with Java?
I never tried, so I'm not sure. But I can anticipate that you will have some problems with either type, and right?
Yeah, no, I think actually that'll be useful if we can think about what are people mostly programming in. There's JavaScript, there is Java, there is PHP, and possibly, I'm sorry, not PHP, I was Python, right? So Java, Python, JavaScript, possibly Scala in our case because of what our infrastructure is. I don't know if we need to. Does everybody agree? Those are probably the four main ones to target to say if you're a JavaScript developer, this is the methodology. That sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe. But actually, the main thing you should do is just to know how to call a deploy, and that's it, and to listen for data at name. So these are two things that are available right now. And the most of the logic that you should do is in the raw lang. So basically, you should first know how to code raw lang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This stuff should be easy. Yeah. Deploy and listen. Yeah, but they're you know, not complicated, but you have this either type that is dynamic. So you need you
need to look at the protobuf.
Yeah. And then you know you have all of this stuff works automatically with all of this generated code. But when you receive the response, you need to manually deserialize again this value inside.
Yes.
So this is like a strange thing.
Yes.
I mean strange. You receive byte array and you need to deserialize again. So this is not normal workflow when you're working with gRPC. So maybe this is like
yes, I agree. Would be nice not having these either types, or at least have some library like you developed for Python, for Scala, for Java, which are
for Java it's a little harder because in JavaScript reflection is something that you can very easily use, but in Java it's not so easy. So I'm more familiar with .NET, so I will probably first write a .NET library.
That's cool. I would really prefer
that. I guess that's the other side. I mean, C# or .NET environment, how people can work from there. Is anybody familiar with the Microsoft Cocoa framework?
Nope.
That's their framework for all kinds of blockchain application development.
Yeah, exactly. This is like something in between. This is not the blockchain. This is like the tools to work with blockchain.
Right. So is that?
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, right. Yeah, you mentioned that. After you mentioned that, then I read about it.
So is that something we could, like you're working at the Visual Studio level, but I'm wondering, is there something we can do at the Cocoa framework level to be able to say within Cocoa framework, here is what you need to do, or is Microsoft going to charge for Cocoa framework? I think it's free right now.
Yeah, I see it as something that they're trying to do with different platforms. They want to integrate everything in Azure, right? Mm-hmm. So they definitely want many other blockchains that work with Cocoa. So they will provide some kind of, you know, tools to connect your blockchain to their framework.
Right. So that's kind of what I'm wondering is basically our launch plan, our strategy is that we will have coverage across all three main clouds, Google, AWS, and Azure. So given that for people that are, let's say they're a Microsoft shop and they just want to get this implemented inside or in their environment or something like that, does it make sense to kind of provide some guidance on, okay, within Cocoa framework, here is how you work with this kind of thing.
Yeah, listen, I mean, definitely, but it's not. It doesn't seem like an easy task.
Okay,
Because you have many different things to. Maybe if someone is familiar with Cocoa, then it would be much easier.
So is Cocoa vaporware right now? Like, is it a white paper, or is there stuff we can actually link to? I have not looked at it recently.
They had some I think when I was reading, they had some kind of beta that you can test and try.
Okay. So because
but for this initial stage, maybe we don't need this kind of support. Maybe we can just provide a very easy way to run your own node inside the VPS.
Yeah.
Especially if you enter your token, and we can make some API calls to create all of these things. Then and then I think we should go in this direction because you can have all of the configuration files on your PC inside your repository, and you can execute some code which will remotely do all of these things. This is some similar way how these orchestration tools are working. They're working from the one machine, and they're just executing remote in code with SSH or whatever. So this way you can just start new instance, kill the instance, and you can have some kind of dashboard of all of your nodes that are running.
Right. Yeah, I mean, certainly, at least people will be happy if they can work with Visual Studio to start with.
So yeah, I'm talking about Visual Studio Code and not about Visual Studio.
Visual Studio Code, yeah. I mean, the one that you're using, that's what I meant, sorry. Yeah. But at some point, I guess we can look into if there's a way. See, I don't know what, for example, the developer uptake is on Cocoa. And if there is a lot of developer uptake on Cocoa, we can look at how we integrate into that flow. So,
yeah.
are we done with this session? Should we stop the recording then? Or does anybody have anything else to? Go over? All right.
Is this new recording or?
Well, I guess we can go back to Jim's room if you guys want to continue to work. I'm going to end the meeting then. Is that good?
Okay.
Okay.